What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and a couple of weeks back I made a video talking about everything I think could be coming in future areas of Thorpe Park Resort. So you guys seem to enjoy that video, so I thought in today's video I could do the exact same premise but with Alton Towers, talking about all the potential future areas that they could have. Now if you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, anything that makes me know you guys like my content, and definitely leave any of your thoughts down in the comments below as well, and I'll try to reply to as many of you guys as I can. So, with all that said, let's get right into the video. Okay, so the first kind of extension or kind of area I'm going to be talking about within this video is actually the Alton Towers dungeons. Now, obviously, many of you do know that obviously the world of David Walliams is actually opening this year at Alton Towers Resort and will be located roughly about opposite from the Alton Towers dungeons themselves. It's kind of got me thinking, would this kind of take you out of the dungeons kind of theme, having this really light-hearted kind of upbeat area right next to this really dark and grim area? So, you know, I started to get a little bit more thinking, and I kind of came across something that could potentially be quite cool. Now, obviously, for those of you that didn't already know, before the Alton Towers dungeon was actually the Alton Towers dungeons, it had gone through many other incarnations in the past. The first, it was Toyland Tours. Obviously, this was a boat ride. And then afterwards, obviously, the boat ride then was turned into another boat ride in the form of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So we did used to actually have two really kind of family-friendly and light-hearted kind of attractions within this building, until obviously in 2019 when Alton Towers decided to turn that boat ride into a part of the Alton Towers dungeons. Now, obviously, if this world of David Walliams does go down very, very well, and the Alton Towers dungeons does kind of start to dissipate a bit, obviously I did make a video on that a couple of weeks ago, so definitely go check that out as well. But if this does actually happen and people start going to the dungeons less and less, and more people start going to the world of David Walliams, potentially could we be seeing them extending the world of David Walliams out to the Alton Towers dungeons, kind of including Burger Kitchen? Or potentially we could have this kind of David Walliams themed restaurant for that, which could be very, very cool, and kind of turning the Alton Towers dungeons and reverting it back to its roots and creating a potential new ride. Now, obviously, keeping the exact same ride system, the whole log flume and everything, most of it is actually still intact, obviously, with the Alton Towers dungeon, obviously operating it. So yeah, something like this isn't really out of the blue, and if the Alton Towers dungeons is going to last as long as I think it is, which isn't really that long, and if this obviously world of David Walliams does go down very, very well, potentially they could kind of make a plan to extend this a little bit. Now, obviously, I have done this in the past. They've done slight new kind of additions to obviously CBeebies Land, and obviously, you know, with this opening in kind of March, within the next couple of weeks, this will maybe even go down as really, really well, leading them to kind of think, look, we've got the Alton Towers dungeons here, no one's really going into it anymore, we might as well extend the world of David Walliams, something that is more successful than it, to kind of help kind of bump the excitement up for it. Now, obviously, this might be, you know, quite a long time down the line, potentially within the next couple of years, because obviously they've only initially built the area this year, so only time will tell to see whether they actually, you know, do something about it and see whether the area actually goes down well. But yeah, that is my first theory. So yeah, let's get right into the next one. Okay then, so the next thing I'm going to be talking about is actually the conversion of Mutiny Bay. Now, obviously, Mutiny Bay has served Alton Towers very, very well over the last couple of years, or even more than that, really, but as time has gone on, and obviously with additions like Wicker Man have come into this kind of general area, it's kind of got me thinking about what they could potentially do with Mutiny Bay, maybe keeping a lot of the stuff the same, but kind of rebranding it a little bit. Now, obviously in 2018 we did get Wicker Man, and back when Wicker Man was actually being constructed, a lot of people were kind of speculating that this potential new ride could have actually been a pirate theme, obviously where it was located within Mutiny Bay. However, they obviously kind of leaned it more towards Gloomy Wood a little bit later. However, with this kind of attraction being located right next to Mutiny Bay, it does feel kind of weird. Now, obviously, Wicker Man has taken over a portion of Mutiny Bay. Obviously, it's taken over the courtyard, as well as some kind of, you know, attractions and tiny, weeny little stuff next to it. However, if Wicker Man was to completely consume Mutiny Bay completely, I would be perfectly fine with this. Now, obviously, a lot of people will be thinking, oh, well, it's one of the most iconic things at Alton Towers, which, yes, is very, very true, and I do hope they don't do this, but there is a potential there that they could potentially convert all of the stuff they've got in Mutiny Bay into a kind of Wickerman kind of village, which I think could be quite cool. You know, they've got a lot of potential they could do with that. Obviously, not necessarily getting rid of all the rides, keeping all the attractions in there the same, so obviously keeping Shark Bait Reef, keeping kind of you know, the teacup, stuff like that. And I feel like if they kind of revamped it into this Wicker Man video, because it is pretty much there at this point, obviously, like I said, with it kind of taking the courtyard over a little bit, you know, it's looking more and more likely that they could potentially just keep expanding that until, you know, eventually the whole of Mutiny Bay is consumed by Wicker Man. Potentially, you know, still calling it Mutiny Bay, potentially kind of having, you know, the kind of battle galleons area still be part of Mutiny Bay and still kind of have that kind of pirate thing. Because I know a lot of people out there do really like this kind of pirate area, and if they kind of did keep stuff like battle galleons, some stuff maybe off to the right, potentially obviously this could still kind of be running. Okay, so the final area I'm going to be talking about within today's video is actually going to be a possible extension of Forbidden Valley. Now, obviously, in my past different videos, talking about Secret Weapon 9 and various other attractions that could be coming to Alton Towers, I have discussed a potential kind of extension to Forbidden Valley, either that or kind of a massive conversion. Now, obviously, originally Forbidden Valley was the only holder for kind of Nemesis, and that was kind of its own thing. And back when Air was being constructed, a lot of people believed that it would be in connection to Nemesis and being kind of like a sequel. And a lot of people were kind of disappointed when it was announced that it wouldn't be something to do with that and be something completely different. And now with Galactica kind of, you know, sitting to the side a little bit, not really having a proper theme, potentially could we be seeing this whole area be converted into a Nemesis kind of area? Now, obviously, with Project 42 and Nemesis Subterra being in this former building that is obviously still sitting there at Alton Towers at the moment, they're not going to keep Project 42 forever, and potentially could we be seeing maybe a version of Nemesis Subterra returning, either that or potentially a new coaster within that kind of area's place, kind of having the same kind of gist of Subterra, you know, having the fact that there's an alien nest from Nemesis that you've got to try and go and kill. You know, something like that could very much work, and kind of converting that whole top end of Forbidden Valley maybe to this kind of Nemesis theme would very much work as well. They've got most of the theme in there already. They just maybe need to add some more kind of heavier kind of indications that it is that. In terms of Galactica, I would be all down for them to turn Galactica into like a Nemesis kind of theme. Now, obviously, this is extremely unlikely, and I've saved kind of the most unlikely one for last. But just imagine them converting the whole of Galactica, you know, back into this kind of Nemesis kind of attraction. I said kind of a lot there, didn't I? You know, and I think it would fit very well. Obviously, with Galactica, you know, not really having a theme at the moment, it kind of just being generic, you know, and not really fitting in with Forbidden Valley at all. With all the VR being taken off, something like this, adding some theming around, maybe even add that blood waterfall in, because obviously, you know, Air used to actually in the plans have a waterfall that was supposed to be built there, and if they kind of brung that back and made it a blood waterfall, kind of bringing back the old blood waterfall from Nemesis, I think that could be very cool, and kind of like going along with that storyline a lot of people thought. This kind of elimination of the Nemesis species and this being about you trying to kill it, I think could be extremely cool, but you know, only time will tell with this really. I think at some point, one way or another, Galactica will get a retheme. Whether or not it's something like Nemesis, I hope it is if they are going to have a massive overhaul. I can't see the VR coming back, to be fair. I think that's something that's kind of dead in the water now. So something like this would be very cool to see, kind of, you know, being incorporated within the area, kind of taking Nemesis as its kind of rightful ruler of Forbidden Valley. Okay then, so that is the end for today's video, guys. Then I hope you did enjoy it. A little bit of an update, I will not be attending the Thorpe Park Resort Annual Pass Day or opening or pretty much any park within the next 5 to 6 weeks, maybe months. Obviously, with all the COVID-19 stuff happening and this massive panic, you know, and with the Prime Minister kind of stating last night that to avoid social gatherings and stuff like that, I've taken it upon myself to not attend Thorpe Park at all for the first, like, maybe couple of months of it being into the season. And obviously the main reason for that is to help stop the spread of the virus, and I do urge a lot of you to do the same, because obviously the more people that do this, the quicker the virus is going to kind of be reduced. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to reduce the peak potentially coming in June. So obviously, if all of us kind of work towards this and kind of avoid these social gatherings, it will help, you know, this kind of situation a lot more, and potentially the parks could be closing within the next couple of weeks anyway. Obviously Thorpe Park did actually, and Alton Towers did actually put out a post today saying that they're closely monitoring the situation about it and saying that, you know, it's not likely that it'll open, but there is still a slight chance. So, you know, I take it with a grain of salt, and, you know, even if it does open, if you are going, please, please, please keep hygiene at a perfect high to try and stop the spread of this virus, because honestly it can really have lasting effects if this stuff does get spread around these places, because it generally can spread quite quickly. But with all the negativity out the way there, I hope you guys did enjoy. Like I said, definitely leave any comments below about your theories and kind of ideas about what could happen with future Thorpe Park and Alton Towers areas, because obviously I kind of want you guys to get involved with some more area kind of feedback from all the different parks. So with all that said, I will see you guys later.